What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my next college football preview. Right now I will be doing the Michigan Wolverines. Big Ten, very intriguing team to always talk about. Obviously, huge fan base and a team that you just get, you kind of get excited but also tired of talking about them at the same time. It feels like they get talked about an awful lot. But I will be doing my same format, 3 key players, 2 X factors, and then my trap game, the biggest game, and then my record prediction for them. So go ahead and start with the 3 key players. First one I got is Jordan Lewis, and he is one of the best corners in all of college football. He is going to be probably the leader of this Michigan defense. This is a very solid Michigan defense. Features more than just Jordan Lewis. Obviously, Jabril Peppers, maybe the biggest name on that defense. Can't forget some of the guys along the defensive line. Chris Wormley and Maurice Hurst should spearhead a good defensive line as well. But Jordan Lewis, like I said, will be the heart and soul of this defense. He's got to, the turnovers got to start with him. That's one of the biggest things for Michigan's defense this year is they've got to start drawing turnovers, and I think that all starts with Jordan Lewis. So my next key player is Davion Smith, the running back for Michigan. And another thing, this is working into some keys that I won't mention, but Michigan's running game's got to be good. It was good at times last year. It was inconsistent. There were multiple games where they got held under 100 yards. Utah held them well below 100 yards in their game, and part of that might have been just due to the fact that was the first game last year, and that was Jim Harbaugh's first game. So they might not have just been getting used to it yet. But Davion Smith is the guy this year. If Michigan wants to have a successful running game, then it's got to go through. It's got to start with him. If he doesn't step up, they got to backfill about, I'd say, 3-4 running backs deep, a good stable, and he's got to help out what will be a new quarterback, whether it will be Wilton Speight or John O'Corn. So that leads into my next key, which is Wilton Speight. He will most likely be the starter. He's the guy that looks the part more than John O'Corn, which has been the big thing so far this offseason. He is a 6'6", 235-pounder, so if you did not see him last year, then you honestly won't be missing a whole lot. You'll get more coverage from him in the spring game. And just by watching general highlights and watching him last year, he really only got to play against Minnesota and then got a rushing touchdown in that game and then garbage time against Ohio State. But I think if Jake Rudock was able to come in and be the guy last year and really take control of the offense, then I think a guy that has all the tools like Wilton Speight should be able to fit in well also. So moving to my 2 X factors, and my first one is a successful passing game. They did have a successful passing game last year, but the big thing for them is going to be the transition from Jake Rudock to Wilton Speight or John O'Corn, whoever steps up and takes that spot. Like I said, most likely Wilton Speight. Whoever steps up into that spot has just a bevy of weapons at wide receiver. They've got, obviously, J. Hugh Chesson, Jake Butt, the big-time players that you see along that offense. And then you also got Amara Darboh at wide receiver as well. So you got, like I said, a bevy of weapons for the quarterback. It's just all got to be put together. And for a team that has a lot coming back along the offensive line and in the offensive backfield, then just completing that passing game will probably be the final key to making that offense go. So talk about my second X factor, which is continue to win the possession battles. That is something they did extremely well last year. They were 9th in possession time. And like I said, all signs point to them being able to continue that. It's just there's got to be the passing game that's there this year as well. If it can be there, then the rushing game should come along. If the rushing game can average over, I'd say 120 yards per game, which isn't anything. Or if Davion Smith just by himself can average over maybe 80, 90 yards a game, then that'll allow that possession to continue. I mentioned this with Jordan Lewis. He's got to continue to be that catalyst for drawing turnovers, and Jabril Peppers has got to be big. That entire Michigan defense has to continue to draw turnovers and be as dominant as they were through the beginning and middle of the 2015 season. So moving to my trap game, which is the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, Iowa, obviously coming off the Big Ten, was the Big Ten West title, yeah, and being a team that is expected to win the Big Ten West again this year. You know, this is a team that's going to play a tougher schedule this year. Iowa didn't play as hard a schedule as they didn't play as hard a schedule last year as they are going to play this year. Now, Michigan does not have an extremely tough schedule through the beginning part of the year. They have their first 6 games. Really, the toughest test is probably Wisconsin at home. They also have Penn State at home. Those are the 2 toughest games. And then you start moving into harder territory when you go to Michigan State, and then 2 weeks later at Iowa. Now, normally when you have games like that, it's a nice little situation where they get to go to Michigan State, then play Maryland at home, and then at Iowa. But again, this is a team that they did not see last year. This is a team that has a lot of returning starters, a dangerous quarterback in C.J. Beathard, and a dangerous corner in Des King. And if they can't get by that game, then that's going to make, obviously, winning the Big Ten title very tough, and it puts their odds at making it into the college football playoff very, very slim. Not just because of the difficulty of the other 2 games on the board at Michigan State. And then the biggest game, which is the second part of that, is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, this isn't just the biggest game because it's the game. It's the biggest game because it's the very end of the season. This will most likely determine the Big Ten East champion. If Ohio State is able to come out on top and be consistent, even though no one knows what to expect from them this year, then obviously it puts Michigan in a little bit of a disappointing season. This is the point in Michigan where, if they don't beat Ohio State, then it's going to be a disappointment no matter how the rest of the season goes. Ohio State's dominated this rivalry the last decade, and Michigan ready to turn it around. So get into my prediction for their record, and I've got them at 12-1. I actually have Michigan having a very successful season. I believe they finally beat Michigan State for the first time in a couple of years. I believe they do get through that Iowa game. Like I said, that will be a dangerous one, but I don't think they get through that Ohio State game, which will mean they don't make it to the Big Ten championship and probably New Year's Six bowl. Now, I think a lot of people think the way that this season is going to go for Michigan, that it's like college football playoff or bust, Big Ten championship or bust. I don't see it that way. I think this is just another year of building for Michigan. I think this is a year of building to a bigger thing in 2017 to maybe finally make that push for the college football playoff. I think that's the way a lot of Jim Harbaugh teams go. It's just building on building on building. And like I said, Ohio State's been there, done that last couple of years. I think that they're going to kind of take that place of that Ohio State team that, loses one game disappointingly, but still has a tremendous season and still finishes inside the top 6. So that pretty much does it for this video. If you have not seen the rest of my college football previews, go check that out. The link to the entire playlist will be in the description below. Subscribe, like, definitely comment. Like I said, I love hearing what you guys have to say just about college football, what you think the upcoming season is going to be like, and what do you think it's going to be like for Michigan. So that's pretty much it. See ya.